In a quiet Danish bog, archaeologists pulled out over 15,000 weapons, the silent remains of an army that marched into a battle nearly 1,800 years ago and never came home. If stories buried beneath the earth, stories that rewrite history, fascinate you as much as they fascinate us, hit that subscribe button right now, drop a like, and share this with someone who loves ancient mysteries. Let's get into it. It is the year AD 205. Somewhere in what is now eastern Jutland, Denmark, a large and well-armed force of warriors has crossed into foreign territory. They are organized, they are equipped, and within a short time, they will be utterly destroyed. For over 17 centuries, nobody knew they had ever existed. The site is called Illerup Ådal, a bog located near the modern town of Skanderborg in central Denmark. Today, it looks peaceful, unremarkable even. But beginning in 1950 and continuing through major excavations that ran from 1975 to 1985, Danish archaeologists began pulling objects from the waterlogged earth that stopped them cold. Weapons, thousands of them. Swords, spears, shields, belt fittings, horse gear, personal tools, layer after layer of Iron Age military equipment, deliberately broken and deposited in what was once a lake. It was not a trash site. It was not an accident. Someone had gathered the belongings of a defeated enemy and offered them to the gods. Danish archaeologist Jørgen Elkjær, who led the major excavations, spent decades cataloging and studying the finds. What he uncovered raised a question that scholars are still debating today. Who were these warriors? Where did they come from? And where are they going? More than 15,000 artifacts have been recovered from Illerup Ådal so far, making it one of the most significant Iron Age weapon deposits ever found. Researchers estimate that as many as 20,000 more objects may still lie beneath the bog, waiting. The sheer variety of the finds is striking. Military equipment dominates. Spearheads, sword scabbards, shields, but scattered among the weapons are intensely personal objects. Combs, fire-starting tools known as tinderboxes. Belt buckles. These were not just soldiers. These were people. What makes Illerup Ådal stand out even among the approximately 25 similar Danish and southern Swedish weapon deposit sites is the scale and the detail. Researchers have been able to identify distinct social hierarchies within the army from the quality of equipment alone. Officers carried finely crafted Roman swords, while ordinary fighters carried simpler gear. And then there are the runes. Etched into some of the weapons are inscriptions in Elder Futhark, among the oldest known runic writing ever discovered. These are not decorative. They appear to be personal names: Legutois, Gops, Nithijo, Wagnaho, Swarda, individual soldiers, marking their weapons in a script that was still new to the world. These are some of the earliest named human beings from Scandinavia that we know of. The weapons themselves tell another story. Among the thousands of iron objects, a significant number were manufactured by Roman craftsmen, or to Roman standards. Roman-style swords in a Danish bog. The connection to the wider Roman world was clearly not accidental. Then came the most intriguing clues of all, the combs and fire-starting tools. Unlike equipment from Denmark or Sweden, these personal items showed stylistic characteristics typical of Norway, specifically from regions far to the north, where reindeer and moose provided the antler material the combs were carved from. The losing army, it seemed, had not come from nearby. They had come from somewhere far away. The leading theory, developed by Jørgen Elkjær and significantly expanded by archaeologist Dagfinn Skry of the University of Oslo, in his 2025 publication, proposes that the army at Illerup Ådal originated in southern Norway. Skry's argument draws on multiple converging lines of evidence. The distinctive personal items point north. The runic names on the weapons carry linguistic features consistent with a Norwegian origin. And perhaps most intriguingly, Roman coins found in Norway and Denmark from the period roughly AD 180 to 200 have a metallic composition consistent with Roman military pay, soldiers' wages, not trade silver. Skry's hypothesis goes further. He suggests this army was not simply raiding. They were marching. Specifically, he proposes they sailed from southern Norway to Jutland around AD 205, intending to march approximately 650 kilometers south to the northern frontier of the Roman Empire, where Scandinavian mercenaries were known to serve. Along the way, they took provisions from local populations, which brought them into direct and fatal conflict with the Jutes of eastern Jutland. The Jutes won. The strangers' weapons and belongings were ritually destroyed and cast into the lake as a sacred offering. This theory is credible and carefully argued, but it is not universally accepted. Other researchers challenge the Norwegian origin interpretation, arguing that the artifact comparisons are not conclusive enough to pinpoint a geographic homeland with confidence. The debate over who these warriors were remains genuinely open among scholars. What is not debated is the ritual nature of the deposit itself. This was a deliberate ceremonial act, the victors destroying and consecrating the possessions of the defeated. It reflects a religious and cultural practice documented across Scandinavia in this period, and Illerup Ådal is its most spectacular known expression. Illerup Ådal forces a fundamental rethinking of Iron Age Scandinavia. For a long time, the peoples of the far north were understood as largely isolated, peripheral to the great movements of the Roman era. What Illerup Ådal reveals is something far more dynamic. Organized armies of potentially 1,000 men or more were moving across long distances. They carried Roman weapons. They may have been traveling to serve in the Roman military. They used a writing system, runes, that was still in its earliest phase of development, and they used it to mark their individual identities on their blades. These were not primitive tribesmen. These were mobile, literate, militarily sophisticated people embedded in networks that stretch from the Norwegian coast to the borders of the Roman Empire. The names on those weapons, Lagutois, Gops, Sworda, are among the oldest personal names preserved from Scandinavia. In a very real sense, Illerup Ådal gives individual faces to people who history had otherwise rendered completely invisible. Here's something to think about and share in the comments. If this army truly was marching to serve Rome as mercenaries, what does that tell us about how ordinary people in Iron Age Scandinavia understood the wider world and their place in it? Did they see Rome as an opportunity, a destination, a dream? Drop your thoughts below. If this story moved you the way it moved us, 1,000 warriors, a bog, runes carved into iron, and names that survived 1,800 years, please give this video a like. It genuinely helps more people find stories like this one. Share it with a history lover in your life. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because we are only getting started. And leave your comment below. We read every single one. See you in the next one.